Let's start with a really simple question that has a pretty wild answer. How do you actually see the world around you? Today, we're going to dive into the ideas of philosopher Maurice Merleau-Ponty, and what he realized is that what you see isn't just a simple snapshot of reality. No, it's something your mind is actively building, co-creating in every single moment.
So, think about it like this. Is your eye just a camera, passively recording whatever light hits it? Or is your brain more like a detective, sifting through clues and making logical judgments about what's probably out there? Well, as we're about to find out, it's neither. And the real answer, it's way, way cooler.
For a long time, there were two main ideas battling it out to explain how we see. And at first glance, they both sound pretty reasonable, but it turns out both of them have a major, fatal flaw. So let's break them down.
First up, we have what's called the empiricist view, but let's just call it the searchlight theory. This is the idea that our senses are basically just passive receivers. The world is already out there, complete and fully formed, just sitting in the dark, waiting for us to shine a light on it.
So, according to this theory, when you pay attention to something, it's like you're just pointing a searchlight. You're not actually creating what you see, you're just lighting up sensations that were already there. Sounds simple enough, right? But there's a huge problem. Right. Here's the killer question. If your attention is just a passive beam of light, what's telling it where to point? Think about it. Why are you focusing on my voice right now, and not, say, the feeling of your chair or the sound of the air conditioning? This theory has absolutely no answer for that. It just can't explain what guides our focus.
Okay, so if that first theory was way too passive, let's swing to the total opposite end of the spectrum. This is intellectualism, or what we'll call the judge theory. And this one says that seeing isn't passive at all. In fact, it's an act of pure thinking.
The famous philosopher Descartes had a great way of putting this. He basically said, when I look out my window, I don't see men. What I actually see are hats and coats moving around. And from those clues, my mind makes a quick judgment. There must be men under them. For the intellectualist, seeing is just your brain constantly solving thousands of tiny logical puzzles.
But this idea crashes and burns too. I mean, if seeing is just about making a correct judgment, why do optical illusions fool us? You know for a fact that two lines are parallel, but you still see them as crooked. Your logical brain can't fix what you're seeing. And another thing, if we only see things we can judge, things we already have a category for, how could we ever be surprised by something completely new?
So here we are, with two flawed ideas. The searchlight theory makes our minds too simple, too poor, just a passive receiver. The judge theory makes our minds too smart, too rich, like a perfect supercomputer that never makes mistakes. But look at the bottom line. They share the exact same problem. Both of them assume the world is just this fixed, finished thing and that our attention doesn't actually create any of the meaning we find in it. So if both of these common sense ideas are wrong, what's left?
And this is where Merleau-Ponty comes in with his game-changing third way. He says, hang on. What if seeing isn't about finding something that's already there, or making a judgment about it? What if it's an act of creation? A kind of active, messy, beautiful dialogue between you and the world. Let's actually put this idea to the test. Just look at this image. Super simple question. Are those long, straight lines parallel to each other?
This is the famous Zellner illusion. Now, you can get a ruler out, you can measure it, you can know with 100% certainty that those lines are perfectly parallel. But that's not what you see, is it? You see them tilting, converging, diverging. Your perception isn't making a logical mistake here. What's happening is that all those little hash marks are actively changing the meaning of the main lines. They've created a whole new visual reality for you.
And this is Merleau-Ponty's point in a nutshell. The experience you're having isn't a false judgment, it's a transformation. Your perception is actively organizing all these bits and pieces into a new, meaningful whole. And that whole is what you experience as reality. You can't separate the meaning from the figure. Merleau-Ponty gives this incredible process a name: active constitution. It's not about shining a light, it's not about making a judgment. It's about your attention literally organizing the sensory world in front of you, and in doing so, bringing a new object, a new experience into being that just wasn't there a second ago.
So it's a creative process, really. You start with this kind of fuzzy general awareness of things, a horizon. Then your attention focuses on something, and bam! In that act of focusing, you don't just find an object, you actively create it as a clear, meaningful thing.
And instantly that new creation changes your whole understanding of the world around it.
So, what does all this mean for how we think about reality? Well, it means we're not just cameras recording data, and we're not just computers processing it. It's about a living, breathing relationship we have with our environment.
Think about the moon illusion. You know, when the moon is rising and it looks absolutely enormous on the horizon, the old theories would say your brain is just making it a mistake, an error. But Merleau-Ponty would say, no way. The huge size of that moon is a real perceptual fact, created by its relationship to the trees and the buildings and the land. In that moment, for you, the moon really is that big. It's a co-creation between you and the world. So, what's the big takeaway from all this? It's that your perception isn't a faulty camera or a cold logical calculator. It's a creative dialogue. You are in a constant dance with the world, bringing forth meaning that doesn't just exist out there or just in your head. It exists in the space between. We don't just find meaning, we co-create it.
The poet Paul Valéry said it beautifully. The work of the mind exists only in act. Your mind isn't a thing, it's an action. It's a verb. It only exists in the moment of doing, in the act of seeing, the act of listening, the act of making sense of it all.
And that leaves us with one last, pretty deep thought to chew on. If every single moment of seeing is a creative act, a collaboration between you and your environment, then what exactly is this real world that's supposed to exist without us? Something to think about. Thanks for tuning in.